Hi, good day to all of you. My name is Shirish Kumar. I'm representing Team SWT for the module Software Performance Analysis. The topic we have chosen for final term project is about security test cases, which is pertaining to end-use context. The outline for today's topics are listed down over here. First, we should understand how do we define security testing, or what is security testing, and what is the purpose of security testing, some of the threats or risks of security testing that could be possible, and we should study about or look at some of the security testing techniques, their strengths and weaknesses, and some of the security concerns that are possible pertaining to NTU, which is our university itself. And also we shall look at some of the security test cases for the above concerns as what we discussed earlier, and then we are providing some recommendations for the security concerns or threats or risks that could be possible to NTU. And we finally conclude this particular presentation by providing the references of the resources where we extracted this useful information from. Security testing, if you look at different websites, they have different definitions, and different books provide different references of different definitions of security testing. One which we really find it quite interesting and important is from Wikipedia. It says that security testing is a process to determine that an information system protects data and maintains functionality as intended. The 6 basic security concepts that need to be considered for security testing are confidentiality, integrity, authentication, authorization, availability, and non-repudiation. So why this security testing? Is it important or not? Most of the companies are currently suffering from serious consequences from stolen customer data and intellectual property to some powerful viruses and other malware. In order for these companies or to these business organizations not to interrupt their business services or to protect their business reputations and to protect their revenues, etc., we need to do security testing. In addition, increasing privacy and security regulations present a complex challenge to organizations. For all these purposes, we do security testing, and it's must to do a security testing. Some of the threats or risks of security testing are like securing and operating today's complex systems is very challenging and demanding. The primary reason for testing the security of an operational system is to identify potential vulnerabilities and subsequently repair them. The number of reported vulnerabilities is growing day to day. For example, if you just look at some of the vulnerabilities reported by BugTrack database, they say that the number of bugs or the number of vulnerabilities increased from 20 to 100 per month. So this just gives an indication, and this was at the start of 1998. That was 10 years back, and now you can just see that it could be like more than 100 times or even 1,000 times beyond that. The number of computers per person in many organizations continue to rise. Yes, you can see that most of the organizations are now moving from paper-based to computer-based, and this increasing the demands on competent and experienced system administrators because the number of computers in organizations tend to rise. Consequently, it is imperative that organizations routinely test systems for vulnerabilities and misconfigurations to reduce the likelihood of system compromise. Typically, vulnerabilities are exploited repeatedly by attackers to attack weaknesses that organizations have not patched or corrected. So if a particular organizations they never patch or they never protect their weaknesses properly, definitely vulnerabilities can definitely lead to some serious concerns or serious risk to the organizations. As explained, as mentioned earlier in one from the BugTrack, and there's one more report from SANS Alert which dated like 8 years back. It says that a small number of flaws in software programs are responsible for the vast majority of successful internet attacks. A few software vulnerabilities account for the majority of successful attacks because attackers don't like to do extra work. So they exploit the best known flaws with the most effective and widely available tools, and they count on organizations not fixing the problems. So this is quite imperative that most of the organizations they need to do the security testing. If say there is any single bug, then the hackers or the attackers can easily try to use this bug as the positive thing, and then they try to attack the systems of a particular organizations. The threats or risks of security testings, some of the threats are as follows, like malicious activity, inappropriate activities, hacking attempts, and use errors. So malicious activity, which of the things can be considered as malicious activity? This could be identity theft, it could be confidential data theft, phishing, unauthorized access, data destruction, financial fraud, social engineering attack, etc. These malicious activities can be considered something like an unauthorized user is able to access or is trying to log in into a system which he is not supposed to be logged into. Or identity theft, it could be like trying to trying to steal the identities of certain users of a particular company and try to act as a genuine user and try to steal the confidential data. Phishing is one of the key things or the most hot word nowadays you can see in the banking sectors, as most of the users are getting some websites whereby they have been asked to click on this particular link to go and then update their details or view their banking transactions. However, these are all the fake websites whereby once the users try to click and enter something, then they are redirected to some website which looks exactly as the original one. In fact, it's not the one. So the users, once they enter the user ID and password, that's it. All the account details or the transactions or the third party people or the hackers get control of the account details. Then moving on to the next one is inappropriate activity. It could be like the inappropriate database access, or it could be illegal database backup, or it could be like circumventing security policies and everything. These are all comes under the inappropriate activities. Hacking attempts, it's gaining access to unauthorized systems. This could be denial of service or malicious bots, brute force attack. Some people they try to get some passwords by using certain forces, which could be like sending some programs over the network or through emails or through some messages, trying to penetrate into the system or into the network. User errors, these are quite common, and is something which we would refer as like professional ethics. When people try to move from one particular company to other company, they try to delete some data which they feel like, or sabotage of the data, and sometimes they call this thing as like accidental deletions or anything. But I would say that every individual must be professional and maintain their work ethics. They should be considering that whatever the data that the organization is holding, it could be very critical and it could be confidential. Deleting or modifying this particular data, it could lead to chaos. So these are all some of the threats or risks of security testings. There's different security testings are network scanning, vulnerability scanning, password cracking, log review, integrity checkers, virus detections, war dialing, penetration testing. However, there are plenty of these security testings. Each of these testing has got their own strengths and weaknesses, which we listed out in the next slide. So if you just look at the strengths and weaknesses, there are plenty of them. Okay, but I'll not be going into in detail of everything, but I'll be just explaining the key things over here. Network scanning, it's very fast, it's low cost, and it's highly automated. However, the weakness is that it requires significant expertise to interpret the results. And vulnerability scanning, it could be easy to run on a regular basis. It's high cost to low. However, it's highly automated as well. There are some freeware tools available. However, there are some weaknesses, like it has got high false positive rate. It identifies only the surface level vulnerabilities, not the depth level vulnerabilities. Contrary to that, penetration testing, it can test the networks using some methodologies and tools that attackers employs. It can verify the vulnerabilities. It can demonstrate that vulnerabilities are not purely theoretical, and also it can go beyond the vulnerability scanning, which is going not just to the surface vulnerabilities, not just identifying the surface vulnerabilities, but can identify in-depth vulnerabilities as well. However, the weaknesses are it requires greater expertise, very labor intensive, and also dangerous when conducted by inexperienced testers, and also it's very expensive. You always know the quality comes with the price. So penetration testing is quite good, however you need to understand that it's quite expensive. Some other testings are listed down over here as well. We are not going to go in detail into each of these things. Some of the key types of testings which will be discussed, which will be password cracking. It will be quickly identify the weak passwords. It is easy to implement and it's very low costing ones. But the weaknesses are its potential for abuse, and certain organizations, they really don't prefer to use this kind of password cracking tests. However, I would say the log reviews are quite excellent because they provide excellent informations. Only data source that provides historical informations. However, the weakness of these log reviews is cumbersome to manually review. Automated tools, not perfect, can filter out important informations as well. Okay, these are some of the security testing techniques as explained in the previous slide and in this current slides as well. So based upon the strengths and weaknesses, you can just decide what type of testing you really are looking for your particular organization or for your companies. Some of the security concerns what we feel that could be possible for NTU is there are different types of threats or risks that could be encountered at NTU. Students can just hack into the academic systems and then can able to access the examination papers which they are going to take examinations probably like in the next 1 or 2 months. And staff can able to enter into the HR system by which they can just modify their annual leaves, or they can just modify the salary particulars, or they can view the salary particulars of their colleagues or their superiors. Anything could be possible. Students can penetrate into administrative systems, they can modify their fee particulars, they can modify the results, which in case like even if they haven't took the exam, they could just modify it by saying that they have passed all the exams or graduated. And some outsiders, they can enter into NTU systems and use the university services, as NTU provides plenty of services like lecture notes, library systems, e-books, databases, journals, etc. So people can just try to enter into NTU system to use these services. And these are some of the few security concerns we have listed down, but there could be many more, and it could be endless as well, because the number of threats or risks which are available out over the internet or over the networks is exhaustive. So some of the security test cases as what we identified which could be applicable for NTUs are the authentications, whereby only authorized users are able to log into the systems, and always we try to set and reset the passwords for every 3 to 6 months, which would be a good thing, so that only those people who are really authorized or genuine users can able to access or can able to enter or log in into the NTU systems. Firewalls and routers, these are some of the key things which need to be taken care by the system administrators. They always need to ensure that an unknown host or unwanted user who might be a security concern to a particular organization or to our NTU itself should be maintained or should be thoroughly checked. Timeout feature, sometimes whenever I log into my EduVenture, I feel like no matter if I just be idle for say like 15 minutes, 30 minutes or even an hour, it doesn't have any timeout feature. So it just says that I'm still logged in. Timeout feature is quite critical, unless like if you just log in and then you just leave your computer, some other people can just come and misuse the information which is available. Also, like critical applications which are like human resource or academics or examinations, there need to be some extra security measures to be used. Things like 2 levels of security protection is just like 1 level they need to be asking some passwords, and 2nd level they need to be asking some security questions and everything. This is to ensure that our systems or all the applications are maintained quite properly, and then it is not going to the wrong person's hand, and also ensuring that the right persons are using the right services and right applications. And log files, as explained earlier as well, these are quite important, though they are cumbersome, but network administrator need to check these particular log files periodically and alert the concerned persons for possible threats or risks. And these are some of the recommendations what we provide is the basic training in security. Employees need to be aware of what exactly is security and some of the threats and risks that could be possible. And from certain sources what we have extracted is like 55 to 80% of intrusions, they begin inside the firewall itself. So most of the employees, we try to see that they are honest, they are nearly all wish to protect the organizations, they try to work for the companies and everything, and they need to be, however, they need to be notified or they need to provide basic training in security and need to make them aware of the different types of threats or risks that can happen over the network. And some of the things what we could do is also like providing training to the management. Like managers are typically entrusted with greater access to sensitive informations, and administrator trainings are also like system administrators need to know how information is classified and protected. And managers are the key people. They will be holding some key critical applications and sensitive informations, so they are in a hot seat. In other words, we would say that they are the most critical people, so they need to know and they need to be very careful in handling the informations. System administrators, they need to look at the log files periodically and try to provide some recommendations, or look at the different types of firewalls, whichever the hardware or software things which are coming up, at least like ensuring that the security things are on the right place. And these are the references what we have extracted for our particular presentations. These are quite interesting ones and everything. And finally, I would like to say a big thank you from our team SWT. Thank you very much for your kind attention.